How's it going, guys? I'm here with a review of Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting. We're going to be playing this on the Super Nintendo Classic. This is a classic game, to say the least. There would not be any Tekken. There would not be any Mortal Kombat. There wouldn't be Super Smash Bros. Even if there wasn't a Street Fighter 2. Now, there was a Street Fighter, or now, in the States, it's kind of been rebranded Fighting Street, the first game in the Street Fighter series. This is where it really started to pick up for the Street Fighter series, with 2. Now, this is Turbo. This is a slightly faster version of the game, with allowing you to play with the boss characters that were previously unavailable. So this was the second release of a Street Fighter game on the Super Nintendo. And, like I said, it is classic in every sense of the word. With the boss characters included, you have a total of 12 characters to choose from. That might seem like a small roster, especially when you compare it to, Super Street Fighter 4, say, for instance. Or, this is not even Super Street Fighter, the New Challengers, which is actually available on the UK release of this system for the Super Nintendo Classic. Now, this is a game that really launched the genre, as I just said. You have special moves. You've got a perfect control scheme. You've got good-looking graphics here for the time. Now, they're cartoonish. We would see, different graphical styles in different fighting games. We'd see more realistic models in games like Mortal Kombat. But this game had more of an anime look to it, to say the least. And that look would be even more animatized, I guess you could say, in future games, especially in Street Fighter Alpha. Those games really took the anime look to a whole different level. This game, the soundtrack is classic. Every single level, I'm not even kidding, this wouldn't even happen in future games, but every single character stage has classic music. From Yu, to Ken, to Chun-Li, to Daozin. And by the way, I just listed off some of the most popular characters in the game, some of the most iconic characters in the game. Blanca, you've got the lead villain, which is M. Bison, who's a pretty tough boss. You've got Sagat, who was even in the first Street Fighter game, Fighting Street. And basically in this game, it's a tournament fighter. If you're going to play this single player, you're going to basically fight against every single character until you get to the last final boss, which is M. Bison. Now, this is Street Fighter Turbo. You can control the speed of the fight by increasing or decreasing the stars. This is also a game that's mostly known for its 2-player, obviously. So if you're playing this on the Super Nintendo Classic, you have 2 controllers, and you can definitely take advantage of the multiplayer. I am a single-player guy, so I played through this again. And this was actually my first time actually beating Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I had beaten Street Fighter 2, the first release of the game on the Super Nintendo, years and years ago, many, many, many times. I first got this game when I was 5 years old. And, I had no idea how to do any of the moves and everything. I gotta be perfectly honest with you. Now I do know how to do some of the moves, but I can never do them flawlessly. Like the Sonic Boom. I don't know how people do it. I was playing this game online for, say, the HD remaster, the HD remix version of Street Fighter 2, which, by the way, I really recommend. I have it on Xbox. That is definitely one of the best versions of the game. It has a nice cel-shaded look to it, and I totally recommend that you get that game. If you don't own any other versions of the game, that is one, and if you're a graphics whore, that is definitely a nice way to experience this game, especially if you haven't played the game before. But it's nice to really return to its roots, and I actually prefer playing this version of the game. It's just, a preference. I like the nostalgia. if I'm going to play Street Fighter 2, I like to play it with the original character models and the original music. The remixed music in the HD remix is nice, but nothing beats these classic tunes, to say the least. Now, what we're going to say about the moves in this game, you know, I see online that people can do the Sonic Boom. You know, you're supposed to hold back for 2 seconds, then hit forward, and, you know, then hit a punch button. You can always see me moving back, so it makes it really obvious when I'm going to do the move. I don't know how people do that without having their character back up. It's just, I don't know how they do it. That's one of the things in this game where you could play it for years and years, and it's almost impossible to master. Now, I just suck at fighting games. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I've never been good at them. I mean, there's so many people. You could see it. I know it's not so much a thing anymore, but the arcades. People would be gathered around these machines, the fighting games more specifically, dumping quarters and tokens, one after the other, mastering these games, playing with people, with rowdy crowds around them. Man, I'm even getting chills and nostalgia just even talking about it. These games define Americana for me. They define my childhood. I think back to a game like Street Fighter 2, and it's just even more than the fighting game. It's more than just a great fighting game with great controls, great memorable characters, and great music. I mean, it was a childhood experience. It's something that I can look back on. I can play this game, and just a whole rush of memories just come back to me. So Street Fighter 2, without a doubt, is a classic game in every sense of the word. I mean, you've got the graphics, you've got the soundtrack, you've got an undeniable style that would give birth to a series that is still going strong today. If this is a game that you haven't played up to this point, I mean, I seriously doubt it. I mean, if you're probably 20 years and older, if you haven't played the Street Fighter 2, I'd be a bit surprised. But then again, I meet people in life that haven't seen Star Wars and shit, so nothing really surprises me anymore. So, go get yourself this game one form or another. If you can't get yourself a Super Nintendo Classic or get a copy any other way, there is going to be an anniversary collection coming out on the PS4 and the Xbox One, and I even think on the Switch. So you guys can get your Street Fighter 2 fix in a lot of different ways. And I think also they have new challengers on there, which you can play as T-Hawk and Cammy and DJ and, you know, a host of other characters. But Street Fighter 2 Turbo, there's just something about that character select screen, something about that intro. The one thing that I wish that it did have that I believe is on the Sega Genesis version, which is the Championship Edition, is that the arcade intro with the guy punching the other guy in the face in front of a tall building. That would have been awesome to have, but they didn't put that sequence in the Super Nintendo versions of the game, which is kind of disappointing. But other than that, I mean, I did play a fair share of this in the arcade, but I played so much more of it when you think about it on my Super Nintendo as a kid. So, if you're looking for memories, if you're just looking for a great fighting game, Street Fighter 2 is the way to go. And like I said, if you haven't played this game before, you're in for some excitement. You might be a little bit disappointed, though, because of the lack of characters. There's only 12 characters, and you might not feel that nostalgia if you're younger. But if you have played this game before and you're coming back to it after a long absence, oh boy, you're in for some real memories. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the review. Until next time.